What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today when I talk to you about SoFi, I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down what shorts did, and then aside from that, given the recent momentum today, a lot of individuals are starting to say that today is a bottom. So I want to humor that, just break it down on if that's actually true or not. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close 5.86% in the green, absolute kick-ass day, 1144 the low, 1212 the high, and then you did see a lot of good volume. So 54.06 million shares being traded, 46.7 is the average. So that alone is one data point that I like to look at, is the volume, because if you're seeing lower and lower volume, similar to what has happened over the last 3 months, it goes to show that your stock isn't really that desirable, and vice versa happens. If you're having a lot of good volume, shows that it's attractive to big money. And across the board, not just SoFi, there was a huge amount of volume increasing over the last 2 days. So shows that, of course, big money might be ready to finally start rotating back into equities, because for a while now they have been leaving and going to other locations such as money markets as well as crypto, and you can kind of see that based on this chart right here. So essentially showing that there was a certain level of fear, and a lot of the fear that's been really plaguing the market has been tariff related and inflation. And so with the potential, like, I think today might be the first day in almost 2 weeks that we have not heard anything about tariffs coming from Trump. And even though technically the steel and the whole aluminum tariffs are going to be enforced, I believe, midnight tonight, we still haven't had any crazy updates. So the market's already priced that in. So essentially you see like a relaxing as far as that. So that fear is starting to subside. And then as well, the other fear that has been looming over the market has been inflation. And so with today's CPI data coming out better than anticipated, both month over month and also year over year, this single-handedly was the best type of scenario it could have played out, because by it coming in a little bit lower than the forecast, it was it moving the right direction. It broke the trend, which was, I believe, 4 consecutive reports all showing that it was moving higher. And then aside from that, though, if it was to have come in hotter, then the market would have freaked out, went down 10% or possibly even more. Flip side, if it would have came in very, very low, then that would signal that consumers are not out there spending the money. So this, like I said, is pretty much the best case scenario. So this potentially is diminishing that inflation fear for right now. So this is where a lot of people are starting to say, hey, is this the bottom? We don't really have all that much in fear as of today. So what is next? So as far as that goes, I do feel that yes, there might be a lot more upside, at least in the short term. One thing that did cause this right here to go down for SoFi and a lot of other stocks was the 10-year yield was starting to go higher. So typically that's not something that does happen with this type of data. So I think there is a certain level of fear now about like kind of a stagflation event occurring. But I think it is too early to kind of tell. A lot of the market likes to speculate, but that's ultimately what did bring this down. So we just have to kind of wait and see how the future data points do come out. But as of today, I do feel like there is more upside coming. So let me know your general thoughts on that. No news from SoFi itself today. After hours, there was a couple of Form 4s, just shows that they were awarded stock. So many individuals, I think there was around 6 or 7 of them all coming out, and they're all locked in for, I think, 4 years. So you have Derek White, 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧, Christopher Lapointe, Stefan Simcock, Anthony Noto, and 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗡𝗖𝗧 or whatever. But a lot of this, so nothing really crazy. It was all voted on based on the last shareholder meeting. So again, nothing to take note from that. But shorts. So shorts did return pretty much across the board. Almost every heavily traded stock had shorts return. So I think CPI really did throw a wrench in their bigger plan, but 12.09% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 130.33 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average did drop 0.2, so that does mean that several brokerages lowered their pricing for that. So seeing a little bit of a coordinated, I guess, manipulation as far as that goes, but still not really enough to cause shorts to increase. So now this is the second consecutive day of shorts returning. So yesterday they returned, I think it was 1.01, today 615,000. So pretty good, at least move in the right direction. Looking at options, 12 million in calls, 7.87 million in puts, 51% of all the options being done today were bullish in nature, and basically a little bit lower on that front. So a lot of money was getting into SoFi through actual common stock, not necessarily through options. So that was kind of an odd scenario. Normally you don't really see that play out, but right here you did have 2.6 million in premiums that was done between 8:35 and 8:40. And if we kind of look at this, it shows that there was some bullish and bearish, so it was a multi-leg transaction, but it seems to be oriented towards around that $11.50 and $12 range. So various calls various puts, both purchased and sold. So it looks like the first one was purchased, 1150 put, and that is for March 21st, 2025. And so yeah, as a consensus, you kind of see somewhat neutral, so 928,000 for that one transaction, which is seen as bearish. Then everything else for the most part was bullish. So yeah, there seems to be some activity around that 1150 mark. So let me know your general thoughts on that. As far as this, of the call options that were purchased, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $12.50 to $13 range. So pretty good for that. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 10.50 for the most part. And so this one has been kind of throwing me off. I'm not really sure why people would be betting for the downside. Like I said, a lot of the data points right now are signaling that there is more upside. So I'm not really sure where people are betting on the downside, but then again, that's how you actually do make money. If you ever go against the market consensus and it actually works out in your favor, that's again how you can make a lot of money, especially through options. But these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So 2.45, 5.6, 2.4, 32.8 million, 7.8. So yeah, a lot of big transactions. And then aside from that, these are all the ones from the dark pool. So 2.4, 1.7, and then I believe that seems to be it for the big transactions on the dark pool. Dark pool is often used by shorts on a side note, and it is kind of comical. So I guess it was very accurate that the whole news of Kathy selling is pretty much a very bullish indicator. So she is as good as maybe on the same level as Jim Cramer, but with it closing at 1192, still trading between this S2 and this S3. 1131 is going to be a strong support. Tomorrow we have PPI data coming out, but even worst case scenario, I don't see it really pushing it below this S3. So 1131 is going to be a strong support. Just watch for that going forward. And on a side note, that wasn't touched today. 1272 wasn't touched today either, but given the market momentum, I feel like that might be the next target potentially that it might be hitting maybe tomorrow or come Friday, but definitely something to kind of watch for on the chart itself. So you can kind of see $10.84 is that 200-day moving average. Today's recovery did break it above that ALMA, showing some signs of a nice recovery. So I think all in all, right now, just a lot of stocks have been beaten down way too much over tariff fears and some other things. And I think now the market's just looking back and saying that, hey, this is probably unjust. It shouldn't have been this much this fast. Let's move it back up to where it should be. So like I said, I think a lot of the data points are pointing that we're going to see a little bit higher highs. Just watch for some of the support and resistance points going forward. But one very positive thing that's going to help SoFi and many other stocks as well is the fact that it is oversold. So again, given the conditions like that, you could see a very nice push higher. So just watch for as far as this goes, the support and resistance. So 13.59, 15, and then 16.41 for the kind of following resistance levels. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Do you think that this is the bottom and we're going to be moving up from here, or do you think that we're going to be kind of trending down? As I've mentioned, I think SoFi is going to be trading between that $13 to $17 range for at least the good foreseeable future. That's just going to be the range for SoFi, and similar to what happened between like that 6 to 8, on occasion it'd break out to that $8 or like $10 range, and then slowly go back into that 6 to 8. That's just how SoFi did trade. So I feel like this is one of those scenarios that's just momentarily broken out of the range. So I think it is going to get dragged back into that 13 at least. So I don't know. That's just something to keep in mind. So let me know your viewpoint. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon where I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.